Welcome, guys. We've got a 1v1 game on Arabia between two players I've never heard of before, but they're around 1,600 Elo, which is very high. I think this is just outside of the top 1,000, but honestly, if you were to eliminate the 100 or so Smurf accounts near the top, these guys are probably in the top 1,000. We have cats like Meow Mix in the blue, playing as the Britons. And then in the red, we have United J ABC Samson playing as the Chinese. Pretty good matchup. Overall, the Chinese are more flexible and can do more things. But if the Britons are focusing on their crossbows, Britons can dominate anybody. So it'll come down to that, I think. And I'm curious to see how good the start is with the Chinese here. Because starting with 6 fills is great. But not having food in the bank is not so great. You would expect at 1,600, though, that these guys are able to keep the idle TC time at around 25 seconds. 25 seconds is the ideal. And yeah, so far so good. Yeah, again, these guys have got some skill over here. They're going to know some tricks. For example, since the Britons collect sheep faster, you don't need 6 on food with the Britons. You can go with 5. And that allows you to go to wood a little bit earlier. And if you go to wood a little bit earlier with this type of a build, normally that means, as we even see the deer push, let's see if he can actually get it. Boom. There you go. Normally what that means is you're going to go for a drush. Obviously, going to wood earlier leads to you having the wood for the barracks, and then you can apply pressure that way. But yeah, so far, pretty impressed with these guys. I think what I would do with Chinese is I would just make sure I wall up a little bit in this matchup. It does always feel like you are going to be under some type of early pressure when up against the Britons. And the tough thing with Chinese is that usually you're going to want to push in some deer. Again, we're talking like, higher elos. So if you're going to need to push in some deer, that can take some time to then find the enemy as well. I think what I would do in Red's position is I would just push in 1 deer and then I would go scout the opponent. Red clearly building up towards some walls right here, which is not bad. T90, what do you think about people unpausing when you ask for a minute and you pause? I think it's pretty crappy. Also, at the same time, there's no, official... The way the pause system works for this game is the way it worked back in 1999. You pause in any modern game, it actually has a pause screen. It actually gives you... There's, a countdown on how long you can be paused and things like that. So, I do think that there's got to be some code there, but at the same time... I can understand because of how it works. Blue is laming. Blue is stealing a boar. What the crap, man? You know what's funny is someone before this game started said 1,600 is just going to be a bunch of people laming each other. You want to bet? So now Blue is going to try and lame, which is pretty crazy, man. This is a very late lame, but this does hurt the Chinese. Chinese struggle the most if they get lamed. I think even if Red, who should probably just attack the scout, honestly. The scout's weak, but... Even if Red does get this boar back, I think it'll end up being pretty good. Now, I'm curious on the execution behind this more than anything else. This scout is going to die, right? This scout's going to die. But what does Blue do behind this? Okay, bringing in the boar. Okay, seems okay. Not bad. Timing on the boar is okay. Red. Great defense from Red, we should say. The boar will come home. Transferring over to the sheep for now. Yeah, Red's okay. Red's okay, but that does delay you more than you would want, sadly. What was I talking about before the lame? Anyone remember? I forget at this point. But yeah, Blue didn't hesitate. Blue saw the boar and just went for it. Red's got to go out there to snag that now. Yeah, with the Chinese, would absolutely love to see a focus on walling. You already researched Loom with the proper Chinese build order. So your villagers aren't really... Your villagers aren't hurt. Also, your opponent's lost the scout. So your opponent can't even scout it. Oh, God, don't... Okay, there you go. So yeah, honestly, I just full wall my base. If my opponent's scout is killed, and I'm Chinese here, I would full wall my base. Unfortunately, sent way too much to wood here. But should be able to drop off some food at the berries, drop off the food at the board. Not perfect. Lame hurts on the way to feudal. Oh, we were talking about pausing. Yeah. So anyways, like, you know, I can kind of understand why people don't really know what that etiquette is in Age of Empires, because the game isn't really say anything. But yeah, I think that sucks. But I have encountered people doing that, so. Okay, 1600. Are you going to camp the barracks? You have a scout? Yes. Also a great reason why you could wall up a little bit. But now you know. Now what some people will do is they'll just sit next to the barracks. I don't see any reason not to do that if you, well, you have to have faith in your own abilities. But if you have scouted their resources already. You know where his wood and berries are. You know where his gold is. Just track this. This is really good from red. Barracks is going to be there. Looks like he's going to build up towards archers. You just want to know exactly where this is going. And honestly, the lamer right now, not looking too hot, but will have the early initiative. Okay, archer range for blue. The goal here is to get your wood upgrade and your man-at-arm upgrade. Okay, it'll be immediate wood upgrade. I love getting the farm upgrade as well with Chinese because it's so cheap. Yep, just go for both. Good play from these guys, man. All about farm transitions now with your wood, if you're red. Don't actually love the timing on the blacksmith because that will delay a couple farms, but that's just a preference thing for me. And blue's got the range. Blue is walling up. This will likely head towards Castle Age with how it's going right now, because red will be defensive for a while. Could be manageable for both players here. All comes down to if blue's able to do some damage here, and obviously, I mean, right now, the TC could kill the man-at-arms. Ooh, the splits! Ooh, fancy boy. Fancy boy. Wow, really rushing and fletching here. I mean, the food eco was either villagers or fletching for me, but chose to rush fletching. Personally, not a big fan of that. I think the pressure from blue forced red into using the wood for the blacksmith a little too early. Now you've got fletching, but, like, does that really help you? No. But he's fine. He's fine. It's 1600s. This is solid. Range is here. Honestly, like, if this was a top 100 player in blue's position, blue would only move out if he knew his archers were going to be able to snipe whatever archer was out there for the opponent. Because you've got the scout out there as well, which is always going to tip the fight towards red. And you could just say, I'll just stay at home, and I won't even get fletching in this type of scenario. I mean, you could genuinely be that greedy. I'd kind of like to see that. Obviously a bit blind right now, though. T90, have you heard of the game Satisfactory? I think you might enjoy it. No, I haven't. I have not heard of it. Satisfactory. Okay, like, here's an instance where you pop out. Yep. Great job from blue. Otherwise, though, you know, no real reason to be super aggressive. This is all macro towards Castle Age from here. Yeah. He's moving out now without fletching. A little worried. Let's see how these 1600 players micro. Fletching came in. Red using the scout as a distraction. Nice. Okay. Blue looping around, but does have the numbers, so red's got to be careful. Red's sending more forward. Red's farming eco looks incredible. I'm jealous. 15 farms. 11 farms. Red holding the hill. Man, these guys are good. These guys are really good. And I'm trying to think. So far, this has definitely surpassed my expectations a little bit in early Feudal Age onwards. Very little TC idle time. Good army control. Good army micro. Okay, now that you start to see skirmishers, if you're red, you need to be worried. Especially once you see that armor's in. Yep, now you definitely need to get out. He's going to get armor as well. And then, yeah, you normally make your own skirms behind this. This is not bad. Now, I've never played any factory simulator games. So, something that you can do in red's position, since you know your opponent's making skirms and you don't have the numbers yet, is just fall back. Yeah, I'm trying to think what makes these guys 1600 as opposed to 1800 or opposed to 2K, you know. Chinese player should have the lead. We have another range for red, who really wants to stay on the hill. I think he might regret this unless his micro's good. He only has one skirm in the mix. And blue has armor on the skirmishers, which means the archers from the enemy only do 1 damage. So the proper play is just mix in your own skirms in this position. Normally in this matchup, you tend to see ranged units from both. Okay. I like the fact red's pulled back. Blue should be adding the second range around now as we plan towards Castle Age. I think early Castle Age decisions are going to make this game. Blue looping, red recognizing it's going to be here. Red clicks up to Castle Age. What a great time. And Chinese are just so smooth. Particularly if you don't get hit early Feudal Age, right? And he knew exactly what his opponent was up to because he scouted it, which was so smart. Looks like he's going to use his skirms in defense. And he's going, excuse me, to send his archers forward. Why not stable transition? Well, this is where it gets tricky, right? Because there's not enough skirm commitment to go into a stable. Like, sometimes you'll fall into that trap where you'll want to add a stable. But there's enough archers where 2 scouts gets picked off. So that's a waste. And then it's just, I guess, I don't know, Lieutenant Crackers, basically, you already have the upgrades. You already have the buildings. Some people will just make their own skirms to match. And then they still just stick with crossbows anyways. The thing that's really awkward right now for red is blue's hitting him from multiple angles. And he hasn't really chased down this army yet. But yeah, the thought process of going crossbow and elite skirm against Britons, I think, is really good. I don't mind that. But obviously a bit awkward for him right now because he just wants to protect himself with walls. Love the 2 ranges. I love how, while on the way to Castle Age, we're seeing the farm upgrade and the gold upgrade now. It's never realistic to get horse color behind everything we saw from blue here in early Feudal. The house walls are also a great idea. And I would just say keep my army alive. What you're going to see from the best Britain players here is you're going to see a second TC in an area where you're vulnerable. A continuous mass of archers. And then typically you're only going to move out until you've got like 20 or so crossbows. Red getting early university. And here comes red. Yeah, blue might need to build some buildings here, but what you can also do is act like you're going to fire and give him opportunities to shoot, but you don't actually want to lose units, right? That's where it gets tricky. The idea is like walk towards him and then just run to the side, so if he keeps firing at you, he'll miss. A lot of pressure here, and ballistics is on the way. And thumb ring. This could be over, man. What a great job from red. Not really utilizing the skirms. Guess the only risky thing here is Britain crossbows have more range. But blue's army is not in position here yet. Red should dominate here. You need a panic town center right now if you're blue. To save. Actually, I don't know if he can because of the hills. Siege is not a bad idea. Could try in micro, but now ballistics and thumb ring is in. Now he's running away. Red going for control here. So red kind of reminds me of myself here, where he'll get these upgrades and he won't go in for the kill, and he just wants to control the game. That's good, but I feel like with thumb ring and ballistics, you want to really be fighting army here. So he's happy to control the game, but look at blue. Blue shows up with that other force that wasn't tracked. Now suddenly he's behind the wood line. Red reacts. And blue also looking to hit behind this wood line, but just doesn't see it. But obviously, I mean, look at the worker efficiency last minute. 31% right now for blue. Everything's dipped down. Still big advantage for red. If I'm red, I continue to make crossbows. And oh, he didn't have bodkin. Red moving back because afraid of siege is the difference between 16 and 1800. It also could have been lack of bodkin. To be fair, I didn't notice he didn't have it. But I guess he didn't notice either because he just got it. It's to town center. That's stone. Blue needs to have more siege forward and more crossbows. It's just siege, crossbows, siege, crossbows, siege, crossbows. This is such an important area to push. There you go, red. So, some players address it differently, but if your opponent has a siege workshop, I understand the third TC, by the way, but the next thing on your mind should be your own siege, because you do not have a counter to siege, and if they've got crossbows with their siege, it's not like knights are going to work, right? So I see a lot of games get thrown in these positions because players will see their opponent has siege, and then, oh my god! And they don't add their own siege. So if you want a basic rule of thumb, if you see your opponent has a siege workshop, add your own siege workshop. And this could apply to all elos. We see this at a high elo a lot. It was red trying to engage against Britain crossbows and the siege. And now red went from having amazing position, amazing control, 3 town centers, while blue was just on 1 for a while there. But blue's right back in this. Does have elite skirm with all the upgrades I mentioned. So the elite skirm will be amazing against the crossbows. But red is going to need to get siege out. Or red is going to need to somehow dodge the siege. And blue realizes this too. Blue's like, all right, I'm just going to go for another workshop. Has another mangonel on the way. So red's micro will be tested because in theory, his skirms are great against the crossbows. Oh, God. But he has to somehow out micro the siege. So what you'll see at the top elos is they'll actually try and micro against the mangonels and whittle down the crossbows. I obviously tried that a moment ago. Didn't look too good. Man, this is a great game, though. I mean, this could still swing either way. Blue's probably doing stuff economically at home. There you go. This is what I mean. Like, red knows how tanky this situation is. Blue now sees this. Blue will have the hill. Oh, he left the hill. Okay, 1 for 1. And red, I don't know about this one, buddy. I don't know if you have enough here. Not with skirms. Oh, you're crazy. You're a madman. You're a madman. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. No. No. Ah. Oh, geez. The blue wisely repairs it. If red just runs back and waits for his next mangonel, he might be okay. But these are high-pressure situations, right? And against the Britons, it just snowballs on you so fast. This TC is a good TC for blue. Great recovery from blue, by the way. I really like how blue has played this. Blue has kept it simple and played exactly as you'd want to play with the Britons. And I actually think red's going to die here. Red needs some really good siege shots. But there's no way that red's eco has been as good as blue's now. Okay, we'll get that. Still has some army here. Okay, blue trying to use the crossbows against the siege with the hill. Red repairing. Okay, okay. Blue needs more siege here. Doesn't actually have the resources for it. Has to pull off the TC. Can red get a castle up? Because if red can get a castle up, suddenly red can breathe and live happily with that villager lead. It's now 2 mangonels versus 1. Red with the good dodge work there. This is still so weak. Needs a 1 for 1, hopefully. Doesn't get it. Skirmishers, not so good against big rocks in the face, we've learned. And that monastery's been clicked a lot. And now, oh god. Okay, this is where he wants to build a castle, I think. Oh man, if only blue had more siege coming from this siege workshop. Okay, okay, okay. Repair it. Repair it. What a game. These guys are awesome. Still no mangonel for blue, who's caught up in the villager lead. And oh, he splits into the shot. And I don't know exactly what happened there. I think he thought his units were going to split a different direction. He splits into the shot. It's okay. Doubt does it too. And now we have a castle from red. What a great game from these two warriors. Sick. And now what you're going to see is you're going to see blue's farm count go up. Or not blue's farm count. I mean, it probably will, but red's, sorry. Because red can now breathe and actually place farms. And he's actually going to flip the script too. He's like, hey, how do you like it? I'd love to see a siege workshop from him here. Now, blue, I think you do have what it takes here. You have your own siege at home. You do have 8-range crossbows. I actually have more faith in blue's micro than red's after what I've seen so far. Plus, you've got Britons, so that's fine. But it's a tricky spot if you're the Britain player because you do want to be killing their eco, but there's so many skirms out there you probably can't. So what you'll see, that again, the best Britain players do is just sit at home in this spot, get their economy right, and try and get up towards Imp and rush into Arbalest as fast as possible. Should Red transition into Knights? No, Knights is the worst thing you can do. You already have everything you need. What you need now is Imp. You have every single thing you need against crossbows. Now, Blue could consider it. Doesn't feel natural, though, because Red could always mix in crossbows with his skirms. Also because Red has defensive castles he could fall back to. And I love the recognition from Red. Red says, you know what I need? I need Imp right now. And so here he goes. Really think Blue needed to add Siege here. Maybe could have had Siege out of that workshop a little bit faster. But yeah, not adding any Siege when he's on the back foot like this is definitely a questionable decision. Red now has control over the game. Killing villagers with skirmishers is a great feeling. And now, of course, Blue adds the Siege. Blue maybe thinking about hitting the other side of Red's eco with these crossbows because the skirmishers are out of position. That was the worry with moving forward before. And still Red with control. If I'm Red, I start making outposts on my flanks. And I'm expecting, like, the army's never going to come here, so I'm expecting something on the right. Blue really needs to idle those TCs at this point. And we have husbandry right now for Red. Okay, maybe wants to mix in some cav. Chinese can do it all, right? But I think you have to continue to focus on skirms against the Britons. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay, he's going to run away now. Blue on the way to Imp. This army's so important. If I had to choose between killing 10 villagers and losing this army, or not using this army and not killing 10 vills, I think I would choose the latter. Like, honestly, if this army gets caught out, Blue's got nothing to fight with in the Imperial Age. Now, I think opening with Light Cav is an underrated move with the Britons, because they do get final armor. So if the food eco is a little better, I think Blue could do that. And, oh god, there was actually a hole there. Whoa. Okay, but he is attacking this, so it's going to allow Red to know that this is here. See if Cavalier switches a little early. I still would max out fully on the range tech, because that does feel the most natural play. And yeah, Blue leaves now. How come we don't see Onager at a high elo in a situation like this? Well, Onager against Britons is a waste of resources. Because the Arbalest actually outrange the Onager. I could see Britons going Onager against Chinese, though. But it's slow. They can always make a switch into something that counters it. But yeah, I'm very concerned that Red just has given up on Skirm. Oh my goodness. Things to learn, right? Like, remember I said in early Feudal, I was like, these guys, what's making them 1600 as opposed to 1800? Some of this mid-game stuff. I mean, we do have Trebs on the way, right? We are going to have these upgrades, but if you're going to go Cavalier, you want to have the Castle Age armor before you hit Imp, so you can immediately hit Imp and take advantage. I think things are going to be looking a lot better for Blue than I thought. Blue still has this army. He can max out, it would be awesome. And now he knows it's going to be Cav too, so he's going to make a switch into Pikeman. Obviously, right now, I think production buildings is a key thing for Blue. And if Red were to use his Cavalier to raid, again, I think I would personally use Light Cav to raid. I would probably never go Cavalier, but if you can just raid the flanks of Blue's eco, Blue's really exposed right now. Here he is. He goes for the TC, and now he goes for the villagers. Red now getting ranged upgrades. Still has 17 skirms on the field. Blue's going to make a castle here, which is a sign he has no faith that he can defend himself here in the middle. And I think Red's Cavalier choice is actually going to work out nicely here. Blue just still so far behind. And we do have this to keep an eye on. Skirms seem to be in the middle of the map right now, and the Cavalier are slowly going to go down because the Imp armor isn't in yet. Oh, it's so important that blue sees this. Oh, if blue can stop that. Again, the cav will die reasonably quick to the TC because of no imp armor. Okay, this is huge. This should be denied. And then a lot of red's eco could be hit by that. But I think what's important for red is red can take damage and still has most of his eco working. These are villagers that were going to work, not villagers that are working. Whereas all this, the farming eco, the gold eco, it's all disrupted. So blue can't really tech switch right now. That's when you know you've hurt somebody's eco, when they can't tech switch to stop you. Clearly blue was thinking about that because he did. I think he had barracks. I kind of forget at this point. Okay, Arbalest. Almost full upgrades. Very hard to deal with that. Red spreading his wings to raid. You can't deal with skirms now if you're blue, which sucks. You'll slowly lose your ranges. I like that from red. I think once red sees the castles, he'll probably focus on the castles. Still doesn't have an answer to this ball, though. If blue can micro like a god and get crazy value with this ball, maybe. Actually, not enough skirmishers yet for red. I think blue's going to be too distracted, though. Has this to deal with. Has this to deal with. Great job from red there. Still losing ranges. Still trying to queue up units. Still doesn't have gold. This group of Arbalest, though, proving to be strong. It's 155 pop for both. Now, suddenly, the food eco has been abandoned here. There's villagers back here for red. Again, if blue can keep his ARB mass high enough and stabilize his eco, you never know. I really think if it was an early flood of skirms, if the skirm number was higher for red, this game is done and dusted. It was a little too preemptive to get that switch going. Hard to get the balance right. Okay, now he's going to come forward and take this gold. Still plenty on food and wood. He just hates skirms. There you go. You need a big ball. Yeah, there you go. Okay, this ball is probably enough. And I think that ball will probably finish the game. I just didn't see that. Keeps the villagers alive. TC obviously with the assist. Yep. And then you'd need to deal with this final ball, which you should be able to. Great job from red, man. Recovered from the lame. Also, I thought red was maybe going to die in Castle Age to that all-in pressure. That was really impressive. Not easy to deal with the Britons. And not easy to deal with the lame, either, as the Chinese. I think ultimately he did benefit because blue lost the scout. Blue maybe regretted that later on as red was prepped to deal with whatever came his way. That would be a time to maybe start getting some relics. You know, there's always some small things you can do. Outposts on the side, checking for stones and golds. Checking to make sure you have upgrades. But all is good. Would you tread the production buildings? You mean like where he took out the ranges? I think taking out the production buildings was fine, yeah. But it would have been great to take out the castle as well, right? I think what it came down to was the initial raid was already enough. I think it just came down to, can he get enough skirmishers on the field? And would the Cavalier be seen as a waste of gold? And again, the timing he hit stopped blue from being able to get pikemen out. So it was fairly well played. Red did a great job this game of making use of the Chinese bonuses. Playing into early eco and military technologies. He went crazy with technologies, which is all cheap. And he played into economy. He didn't do anything fancy. He actually had pretty terrible instances with micro. But Chinese are just so well-rounded. So solid. And yeah, blue doesn't want to call it right now. But yeah, there's the GG. Red dominates that game after the lame. 162 kills for blue, but still just didn't have enough. Let's just check the resources. Yeah, 58k versus 46k there. More of every resource. Okay. I asked this like 5 minutes ago, but it was all archer ranges and barracks in the same spot, and a choice between pushing TC or pushing the production buildings. Hadn't seen the castle yet. Oh, you mean... I'm not seeing the question there. If you have questions, though, about that game, I'd love to hear it. I kind of want to look back. Okay, so I want to talk about... So what blue did here was fine. Again, the lesson with red is he knew his opponent was going to have siege a long time ago, right? So I get it. I get getting the third TC. I actually don't mind that because you don't want to fall behind an eco. You want to continue to get a lead there. But you know the next thing that's going to show up to your base is going to be siege. So, I mean, honestly, he's got 6 skirms. Screw elite skirm. That costs a lot of wood. Get a siege workshop would be my tip. If there's a siege workshop here when blue arrives, it's a very different situation in the mid game. I think that, you know, with these imp timings, it's always going to be super tricky. So it's hard for me to give a lot of advice from blue's position. Ultimately, if I'm blue, though, I'm hoping this back corner saves me with a lot of farming eco, and I'm trying to get into light Kevin Arbalest. Honestly, I think if red continues to make skirms, blue loses this entire army before he can get value. This army was in here, and I don't think ever should have been able to get out. Yeah, red just benefited from the economy with the imp time. Blue's production buildings, you could argue, need to be further back, but he's got some big problems at this stage, right? How long would you say it takes to reach this level if you're completely new to the game? If you have previous RTS experience, it's a lot different. You know, if you're like a god at StarCraft or something, it might take you like 6 months to get to this level. I don't know. I mean, I would say the earliest you could ever get 2K plus is probably like 2.5 years. And you would have to grind non-stop and be really talented. So, with that said, maybe like a year, year and a half? Again, with like a lot of different factors going on. That's a hard question to answer for me. Yeah, if you were a StarCraft player and you came in, probably like 3 to 6 months, probably. I don't know. Again, it depends how good you are at StarCraft, right? Like, I've seen a lot of talented StarCraft players and a lot of talented players in other RTSs come in and not be able to do too well. So, like, there's a guy named Marine Lord who's now doing amazing in AoE4. He never really placed very high in tournaments, and he made it like top 60, top 70 on the ladder, but never really took it beyond that. You have Mista. Mista played AoE Age of Mythology. Also now plays AoE4, and he does good there. He was only, I don't think he even hit 2K. I don't think he ever even hit 2K in Age of Empires 2. But yeah, I mean, it depends. It depends. I think everyone's different, but like, it takes a lot of time and a lot of games and a lot of practice. And not everyone can do it, right? Everyone has their cap. So, it is what it is.